Welcome back to Movie Summary. Today we are diving into a film called Lost Girls and Love Hotels. The movie begins in a dark alley. A girl is walking while feeling being followed. Her name is Margaret. She tries to calm down with a cigarette and the man behind offers her a lighter. She is shocked at first, but then accepts it. Both stare at each and Margaret asks him to take her to a hotel. We then hear Margaret's voice who tells her there is no happy endings, things are always messy. We are then shown Margaret life Japan. She seems a little stressed. She gets a new job and after work, comes back to her modest little apartment contemplating the view outside. That night, she heads to her favorite bar and gets drunk with two of her friends, Louise and Liam. Liam wonders why does Margaret never takes him to a love hotel. But she responds, "You are like a brother to me." The poor man is shattered. She heads to a restaurant and tries to attract the attention of another man. He fell for her, so she brings him to the hotel. Both start making love and she is a little extreme which shocks the poor man. The next day, she is back at work in a horrible state. The manager advises her to take the day off. Later that day, she goes to a bookstore. There she meets a man who likes the book she chose. His name is Kazu. He stares at her with no words and leaves. She follows him downstairs and both jump at each other all. They then make the way Margaret loves it. That same evening, Margaret is back at the bar with Louise and Liam. They realize she is extremely happy today. She tells them about Kazu. She believes he is the most beautiful man she ever met. The next day, Margaret is back at work. She asks the manager if she ever got married. She replies that she did but fell in love with the wrong man. After work, Kazu is waiting Margaret at the entrance. The gentleman opens the door of his car for her and invites her to eat. Margaret loves his car, and Kazu tells her he doesn't want to make love, just talk. He also asks about her job and she replies that she teaches English upstairs. Minutes later, the man brings her to a restaurant. Kazu and her have a drink and he asks her why did she choose Japan. Margaret just wanted to be alone. A man starts making noise in the back. Margaret takes this opportunity to go to the restroom. Once alone, Kazu leans on this man's table and the entire restaurant gets quiet. When Margaret comes back, the man and his group of friends are gone. She is shocked at how quiet the restaurant is. The reason is that Kazu is part of the most dangerous gang in Japan, the Yakuza. The two of them then proceed to together like usual. After it, he then announces to her that he is getting married. This is a shock for Margaret. She immediately stands up and leaves. The next day, Louise comes to visit Margaret at her house. To cheer her up, she brings Margaret to a popular club. Days later, Margaret is at work teaching English to future flight attendants. The manager is so proud of her as the students are graduating. When she leaves, she receives a gift, the book she was contemplating when she met Kazu. Kazu sent it to her with the address of a hotel. They make. After it, she asks him if he loves his wife. He responds it's more about loyalty and duty. Days go by and Margaret is more and more obsessed with Kazu. One day, he surprises her on the street with a gift. He asks her to her whole day. Margaret looks at the students behind her as she is heading to work, but he insists. She can't resist and abandon her job to go with him. They take the train. During the ride, he shows Margaret some old photos of his family. They finally arrive at destination, it's a temple. He then tells her he has another gift for her, he will show her a unique place under the temple. Inside she sees a statue, but she is so confused. Kazu repeats to her that today is her birthday, what she just saw made her reborn. They then take the train back. But when she arrives, she realizes Kazu isn't near her, he got out at an earlier station. The next day, she heads to work and realizes another English teacher is there. She realizes what just happened. The manager then comes to her and gives her her final pay. Margaret is shocked but the manager reminds her there is consequences. She is fired. As she walks out, a student runs to her in pain screaming goodbye. Days later, Louise announces to Margaret that she is leaving Japan. She gets sad realizing she won't be coming back. The poor Margaret realizes everything is leaving her. Both women grab one last drink. Louise gives her a kiss then takes her suitcase to head to the airport. This affects the poor Margaret. Days go by and she's with many other guys. Until one day, she notices Kazu with an old man and many members. They all drive away, leaving Kazu alone. He then starts walking and Margaret follows him. He goes into a building and she loses him. So she starts screaming his name. Kazu is observing her through surveillance cameras, then comes to her. He screams at her that he is not good for her, but she wants to be his little secret. She also reveals that she saw him with his family earlier. Later that evening, a stranger saves Margaret, who almost got bus by a train. When she get home, she find an eviction notice on her door. So the following day, she goes to find another job. Basically entertaining men. She starts and is really having a hard time get through it. She keeps drinking a lot and falls asleep in the restroom. As the morning arrives, she is in tears. Melissa, Liam's girlfriend, bumps into her and wonders if she is okay. Margaret asks about Liam and Melissa let her know Liam has been ejected from Japan. Melissa then takes Margaret to lunch to cheat her up. The days that follow are very painful for Margaret, who is so confused. One night, she walks in the street and a man follows. This is the scene from the beginning of the film. She brings him to a hotel like she suggested. Once in the room, he starts to which worries her a little bit. It's her first time doing that. After finishing, he tells her it doesn't make her special. The man starts talking to her about his life, how he came to this hotel when he was younger. He tells he could kill her now. She then gets a memory of the basement under the temple she visited. At this moment, a fight breaks down behind her. Someone entered and finished that man. It's Kazu who saved her. She is so relieved noticing he is here. She is over the moon. Margaret then calls Kazu a coward. They both cry in each other's arms. The next day, Margaret boards a plane. Meanwhile, Kazu received a call from her. She tells him she now feels reborn like he said. She then tells him goodbye and hangs up. As the plane is taking off, Margaret recognizes one of the students she was teaching English. She is now a flight attendant. They both look at each other and Margaret is so proud of her. As the plane takes off, she tells us there is no happy ending, things don't fit together perfectly. I think this is a metaphor to the film itself. The movie then ends. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out other movie summaries we have on our channel.